Hey yo guys, I'm back here to give you my reviews of both the TNA Sacrafice pay-per-view, which took place last night from the Impact Zone in Orlando, Florida, as well as UFC 98, which took place from Las Vegas, Nevada on Saturday night, which featured a superstar being born in the Dragon, Machida. Overall, I gotta say, that show was actually a really entertaining show. I think from an all-round, comparing UFC 98 to UFC 94, which took place in the same venue, maybe the fights overall were a little bit better than 98, but excuse me, the ones in 98 were a little bit better than UFC 94, but the crowd was just more into UFC 94, which was the whole deal with, St. Pierre and Penn, but still really a show overall, I gotta say that. Now with TNA, I will say, it started out, the pre-show match was good. Towards the end, it actually did get a little bit better. I mean, the middle was a bumpy road. I would say a mixed bag show. I've seen some overall ratings of this show, which are just ludicrous, of like a 2 and a 4. I mean, Jesus Murphy. Like, do you know how to rate a show? I mean, this wasn't in that category. There were some good matches. The crowd was actually hot for the tag match, as well as the pre-show match with Kiyoshi and Amazing Red, and they were hot in parts for the main event. They kind of got lost throughout it, but anyways, I'll review TNA first. Anyways, as I made mention, the pre-show match, it was a good match, as I expected it to be. Kiyoshi and Amazing Red. Real fast-paced match. Didn't rush the guys, which I like. Crowd was hot into it, like I said, and, Red gets the win with a standing moonsault. So, good performance. Nice to see Amazing Red back. Definitely he'll get more in-ring time than more so if he were on the independents, which is a nice little positive with him going back to TNA. And I don't know what he's got in his long-term future. He'll probably just be a guy to have matches. He may fall into a Shark Boy category, but still, he's just such a talented performer. I don't think they want to waste him like that, so we'll see. But I really enjoyed the opener. Good solid way to, not the opener, but the pre-show match. Good way to get the crowd going. Unfortunately, the way I would do it, maybe this is me talking here, I would maybe have, like, the last 20 minutes have, this match go about 7 or 8, keep the crowd kind of before, you sell us on the pay-per-view again. I think this match here may have sold you on, hey, look at these guys. They had a, pretty fun little entertaining match. Maybe the whole show is going to be something like this. So you may, purchased it from that. So that's a good way to look at it. I think a lot of the X-Division matches will probably be in there. Then we kick things off on the pay-per-view with a 6-man tag, which was the Motor City Machine Guns and Sheik Abdul-Bashir versus Lethal Concepts and Eric Young. This was a good match. Another good match, which you expected it to be. I guess, I have a couple complaints that, the reason we're having this match is more so the feud between the Guns and Lethal Consequences, but they kind of finished that aspect on Impact, since those two teams are feuding over Daniels' suicide, and they kind of had the 3-team tag match Impact last week, so I don't understand the logic in that. But this match was fine. Everyone worked well together, I have to say that. They're kind of playing up that Eric Young's about to turn heel, just from the way Don West kept talking about him, just standing there on the apron not wanting to engage. This was, like I said, it was good. Creed was in there for, the beginning portions of the match, getting the heat put on him, and he did a fine job, I have to say that. Shelley hit a vicious strike off the apron, I have to say. But yeah, once things got going, my only problem is, like, they started hitting their big moves, and then it just became the thing I hate in wrestling, especially with, an X-Division type match, or, these young guys type match, is they'll hit their big moves, and then they'll just have people break up the pin, or someone will kick out. Like, the last 4 minutes of this match, that's exactly what it is. Big move, kick out. Big move, kick out. It just devalues your guys. Especially, a guy in the X-Division who's not getting much play, let their finisher try and mean something there. So that's my only gripe there. The last 4 minutes was that. Especially, since this match was going along so well, and they, the teams gelled so well, for the finish to be, Sheik Abdul-Bashir sunset flipping Eric Young, and then referee Andrew Thomas kicking, Young sunset flipping Bashir, and Thomas taking Bashir's hand off, and then that was the finish. Really left you with a bitter taste in your mouth. But the best part of that was all Don West. Don West may have been the star of this show. Let me just say that right now. Don West was gold last night on pay-per-view. Let me just say that. You know, after that, he's like, well, what the hell is this crap? I mean, basically talking like all the fans were. That, you know, we had such a great little opening match, and then they just ruined the finish. I just thought that was hysterical. Yeah, so that was the match. It was good, like, you know, what you expected all these teams to do, but like I just said, the finish hurt the end result. Then we went to the first ever female Monsters Ball match, and this was kind of a waste. They could have, you know, maybe waited for an Impact at this rate for this show, for this match at least. It was Taylor Wilde versus Daffney with Dr. Stevie, Abyss in her corner. Yeah, this wasn't much of a match. They just traded weapon shots, and Wilde got the win with a Death Valley driver, and that was it. I mean, this match definitely could have gone on a little bit longer, considering what they did. They basically just had a TV segment go on there with, you know, Dr. Stevie telling Abyss to put Taylor Wilde through some tacks. Then Lauren came down and told her, Abyss, no. Abyss put her down. Then Abyss was actually about to put her through again, and then Dr. Stevie pushed down Lauren. This pissed Abyss off, and he choke slammed Dr. Stevie through the tacks. Yeah, whatever. Clearly looks like we're going to get a Dr. Stevie Richards versus Abyss match. Kind of wish they wouldn't have done that type of angle like on the pay-per-view. Let them have their match before this happens. You know, maybe like a match where, you know, Abyss gets beaten down. Because he's going to get beaten down with weapons, and then he can snap and do that. So that's just my thoughts on that. Not much of a match. Definitely, you know, a bit of a waste of actually some of your two most talented female wrestlers. But I'm not too worried about it because Victoria will be coming into TNA, so I'm happy about that. Then we move over to the next match. It was Suicide versus Daniels for the X-Division Championship. It was a weird one. Let me just say that. It wasn't as bad as people are, you know, making it out to be, but it was pretty weird, I will say that. I know the first part of the main match was not so good. I will say that. I mean, there was some, you know, miscommunication in a couple spots. It just wasn't, for some reason it wasn't working. The crowd wasn't into that at all. You know, but like I said, Don West was a star. He was great here, thinking that this whole match was just basically a work, and Daniels was in conclusion to just, you know, have some geek under the hood so that he could beat this guy by pretending to be Suicide, so he could be X-Division champion. Basically then what happened was the guns came down, Sabin distracted Daniels and the referee, Shelley hits like a code breaker on Suicide, and Daniels then the victory. But then Daniels sees on the screen for like an instant replay, like we're in the NFL here. So he didn't want to win the match that way. They asked for Rudy Charles for 5 more minutes. They have 5 more minutes, and you know, from that point on, you just knew that Suicide was going to retain, because Daniels, once he said, I want 5 more minutes, I don't want to win the belt that way. I mean, that title reign doesn't count, and Suicide was still in. So they had the 5 minutes, it expired, we all knew that was happening. They tried to do a finish where, you know, Daniels hit one of his bigger moves, hit a big move, and, you know, in the last seconds tried to get the pinfall, but it came off so poor. You know, in the timing issue there, it came off pretty weak. But still, that 5 minutes was really good. I mean, I was wondering why the last 5 minutes was better than most of your match there. But yeah, the match, not much there. And a lot of people are saying, well, this doesn't make sense how Suicide's still champion. Well, he was champion because Daniels, like I said, turned down winning the belt, so that's why we had it. But you just knew it was going to be a time limit draw type thing. So we're going to get an Iron Man match, probably at Slammiversary. Then we move over to the next match, was for the TNA Knockouts Championship. Angelina Love versus Awesome Kong. I mean, a lot of people are saying, oh, this match was terrible and boring and bad. Well, this match wasn't expected to be good. And I think this is more so to build the storyline here. Really, the match was Angelina Love just trying to run away, and, you know, she knew she couldn't beat Kong since all her help had been taken out by Kong. So she tried to, you know, get herself counted out. She tried to go up the ramp, and Raisha Saed kept her at bay. Then she got, you know, Love was out on the floor. She got her some hair out and sprayed it into, or tried to spray it at least. It didn't really come off that well, into Kong's eyes, and got the roll up. So that was the match. But then afterwards, Kong got up and, you know, gave her 2 implant busters. So that was that. We're probably going to get a stretcher match at Slammiversary as well. Just I didn't, surprised we didn't get one here, since basically the build was Kong taking people out on stretchers and we're just having a normal match now. But you know what, for TNA, normal match and then go to the gimmick, I will be a fan of that. Okay, so that's just my thoughts on that aspect. Like, it was a nothing match, but I mean, did you expect anything to be fantastic from this match? No. Speaking of, you know, not good matches, but actually maybe something you got a surprise out of, it was Kevin Nash versus Samoa Joe. Now, this was Samoa Joe just dominating Kevin Nash, basically. You know, he beat down, you know, Nash even did some color. And, you know, he got choked out by the Coquina clutch, which, you know, I'm a fan of Nash doing this. Nash completely put over Joe. My only gripe, this should have happened, you know, a year or 2 years ago, okay? It should have happened at least a year ago at the latest when they had their first encounter. I don't understand why Nash had to go over in that match. I mean, Joe was so hot at that point. 2 years ago, Joe was super hot. Now he's, you know, cooled off tremendously, maybe because of the new gimmick, maybe because he put on a little bit more weight. I don't know. I'm still I like Samoa Joe at all. This is definitely one of his better matches as this character, but still, then again, that character is pretty premature. So, but Nash, you know, he did the complete job for Joe, and then afterwards, Joe kept beating down Nash, and Steiner came in to, you know, get the breakup, and that was that. So that was, you know, a match that was supposed to happen 2 years ago. That would have actually done something really big for the company, but it happens now 2 years later, and no one cared at all. You know, part of that was, you know, injury issue, but still, the first match they had, that clearly should have been Joe going over. Then we went to the next match. It was the finals of the Team 3D Tag Team Tournament. It was the British Invasion versus Beer Money Inc. Now, the British Invasion is quickly becoming one of my favorite new additions to TNA. You know, it's a nice little trio group. You know, you got your big guy, Rob Terry. Now, he's probably not going to be much in the ring, but he's still, you know, looking like a menacing force. You got a good talker there on Brutus Magnus, who, you know, yeah, he's still not the greatest in the ring. He's actually vastly improved. Part of that has to do with, you know, Doug Williams, who is definitely one of the best wrestlers, maybe in the world. You can make that for an argument. To cover up the flaws of Brutus Magnus is, you know, really impressive. But like I said, I think Magnus actually improved a bit. You know, and they look like a successful team with the their attire matching, which is, you know, huge. You know, up against Beer Money here. You know, Beer Money is one of the most over things right now in TNA. They've definitely looked into babyface term, which, you know, I'm happy because their fans are so over with them. I mean, they have so much chemistry, not only with their opponents and with each other, but with the crowd. I mean, when they do that little thing where, you know, they go down like that and Storm goes beer and Rude goes money, that is just something that's catching on. Their work rate is really strong. I really enjoyed this match. As this was, to me, the match of the night on the show. You know, Team 3D tried over that, you know, tag team wrestling is really here. I don't know how much I can go for that. I mean, yeah, compared to WWE, it's definitely true, but it's just maybe a couple teams. I think the Invasion, I was kind of maybe surprised with the Beer Money going over just a little bit, because the way they kind of been building up is that the British Invasion was going to feud with Team 3D. But it looks like we're going to have another match with Beer Money and Team. You know what, I have no problem with that. They actually had a really good match at a Lockdown, so no problem there. This was a good match. You know, the teams gelled well, like I said. Beer Money hit this move, which I think definitely needs to be their finisher, with James Storm doing a Frankenstein or Hurricane Run or whatever you want to call it, and then Rude doing a splash. That needs to be their finisher right there. I don't know what they're going to call it, but that should be a finish right there. So that was just, it just worked so well. Doug Williams is in there a lot of the match, which helps the British Invasion out as well, like I said, because he's so good in the ring that it's not even funny. So that's just my thoughts there. The finish was, you know, Doug Williams brought in one of the briefcases that they stole from LAX and was going to hit, I believe, Storm with it. Was going to hit Rude with it, but Storm super kicked Williams in the back, and, you know, Rude hit him in the face, and the briefcase hit Williams in the head, and Beer Money gets the win in the best match of the night. So that's just my thoughts there. Then we had an I Quit match for the Legends title. You know what, personally, I didn't think we needed to have an I Quit match. They just, like, decided, like, 3 weeks or so before the pay-per-view, yeah, we're gonna have an I Quit match, so whatever. Overall, for an I Quit match, it was, you know, this was a really good match. You know, Booker with AJ, he likes to actually show up and perform, which is, you know, a positive, if you know me saying, because when Booker's on, he's one of a real top guy in this company. They worked well. They looked like, you know, this was an important, serious match for a belt that really doesn't mean much, but still, and I liked the match. You know, they worked, you know, I like how they had the microphone in there, which you're supposed to, but, you know, you never knew with TNA. They worked over, you know, the arms and stuff, which, you know, I like, because, you know, yeah, they're not submission matches, but still trying to, you know, sap the will of your opponent to make them say, I quit. Basically, then the finish came down to AJ hit a flying armbar and, you know, put it on. It looked kind of sloppy at first when they were down on the ground, but AJ Styles got it put together. Sharmell eventually came out before that and was like willing Booker on not to quit, but then Jenna Moroska came out with a towel and threw it in, and a lot of people are like, oh, that's just a bullshit finish. You know what, it's acceptable. If this is an I Quit match, throwing in a towel is basically say, you know, you're quitting, so whatever. I mean, they do it in boxing and they do it in mixed, they did it at least in the past. They haven't done it in a while, I've noticed, in mixed martial arts, but still they do it there, so I have no problem with the towel throw at all. Styles retains, and definitely, I don't know where we're going to go with this. I think this should be over when, you know, Styles is now 2 wins on 2 pay-per-views. So that's just my thoughts there. At this point, really, with the 2 matches and, you know, the good opener, I'd say the show was overperforming. We went to the main event here. It was the ultimate sacrifice match. You know, Foley's belt was on the line, but only if he got pinned. You know, Jarrett was giving up voting shares. Angle was giving up that he would have been the leader of the main event Mafia. And Sting was giving up his career. So Sting was basically giving up the most important thing. But anyways, actually, you know, the match, it's out all over the place. The crowd really wasn't into it because they did that multi-brawl kind of stuff. But actually, the match worked out better when, you know, Foley did something, you know, I may say it took away from the match a smidge, but I will say when Foley was out there taking a rest-a-rooney, as he called it, it was pretty funny. I mean, Foley's out, you know, Foley has such great chemistry with West and TNA out there on commentary. I hope to keep bringing him out there on for just, you know, more main event type calling matches. I think it's just entertaining stuff, so that's my thoughts there. Angle noticed that Foley was out there taking a rest and did like a somersault plancha onto Foley. Finish then came down to Jeff Jarrett hitting the stroke on a chair on Angle from the top, middle rope, and Sting came in and stole the pin, so Sting's now the leader of the main event, which, you know, I'm fine with, and I'm fine with Foley not losing the belt, because I think it's too soon for Foley to lose the belt, and it definitely looks like the big Angle will, I don't want to say Bound for Glory, just because I don't know how long Foley can be having matches on the pay-per-view, but it looks like Bound for Glory is going to be Foley and Jarrett. I don't know for the belt, but we'll see. So overall, you know, my thoughts on this show, the last 2 matches were, you know, the beer money match was good, you had a good opener, main event actually delivered better than what I really thought it would be, so I go thumbs in the middle. The middle of the show was weak. I mean, the 3-minute Monsters Ball match, you know, a disappointment in the X-Division title match. And, you know, the fact that Nash, you know, did a job, which is a positive, but he did it 2 years too late. But, you know what, I'll give Nash the best he could do. You know, he wanted to have a good match, you could really tell that. He tried something that a lot of these guys in this company don't do, so he tried, I'll give him that. Then on to the UFC pay-per-view. Seen every bout on this card, so I'm pretty happy about that. I guess I can run through it as quickly as possible here. We started things off with George Roop and Dave Kaplan. Gotta say, this was a good competitive back-and-forth bout. I thought that, you know, in the first round it was the department for, you know, Kaplan to get him the victory. First of all, Kaplan kind of looked ridiculous. He looked like a lightweight version of Minnowoman. Or Minnowowman. I'm sorry, that's how I pronounce it. Minnowoman. I say it sounds like Minnowoman, but anyways, he kind of looked like that. But he was supposed to be Ric Flair, but anyways. This fight was Kaplan in the beginning on the stand-up. He was doing fine there. Even when things went, you know, basically this fight was, the stand-up was, you know, a little bit, the first 2 rounds went to Kaplan. Ground game, for the first 2 rounds, I would go with Kaplan as well. I mean, he made some nice transitions, controlled pretty well there on the ground. 3rd round, you got to give to Roop. You know, he did a decent job on the ground there to win the round, and you know, it really wasn't too much on the stand-up there, but he did a good enough job there. I scored at 29-28 for Kaplan. One judge did as well, and two other judges scored at 30-27. Now, I really don't see how you could do that, but whatever. I don't know if anyone if the judge was Cecil Peoples, one of them was, I can understand. But anyways, then we went to the next fight, which was Wolff versus Yoshiyuki Yoshida. Really, this fight was simple. You know, Wolff kind of went in for a takedown, left his neck out there. Yoshida grabbed it, put him in a guillotine. Wolff tried to transition. That didn't work. Got in the choke deeper. He tried to escape again. Got in the Yoshida put in the choke deeper, and then eventually Wolff tapped seconds there later. So that's just, you know, a nice little performance there. You know, both guys are coming off pretty devastating losses. Yoshida, of course, was coming off a devastating knockout by Josh Koscheck at the Fight for the Troops show, and Wolff was coming off from a devastating Muay Thai display by Ben Saunders. So yeah, that was just my thoughts there. I don't know, maybe Wolff will stick around in the UFC, not sure. But with those two performances, I think it leaves a lot to be in question there. Yoshida gets the win, though. Then we went to the next, which was Andre Guzmão versus Krzysztof Soszenski. You know, Soszenski wanted to have a knockout of the night. Well, he got one, almost one, I should say. He actually had it up until the main event, I will say that. You know, Soszenski came out, you know, testing. You could tell he really wanted to throw a big bomb. He had his hand cocked for most of the fight there. Actually, Guzmão came in and, you know, he had a nice little shot there. I'll give Guzmão credit because Soszenski hit him pretty hard. You know, things went to hell there for Guzmão, but he stayed with it. Then Soszenski just let all hell unload on him and, you know, rocked him pretty hard and dropped him. He hit him two extra times than I would have liked before Herb Dean got in there, but Krzysztof Soszenski gets the victory. Then we go to maybe the most disappointing thing you'll see on the card. It was Kyle Bradley versus Felipe Nover. This is just, you know, an unfortunate incident. If we remember back at UFC 96 with Pete Sell and Matt Brown, when Yves Levine was the referee and Brown was just nominating Sell. It looked like he stopped the fight but then let it go again. If we remember this, it almost happened here again as looked like you know, Nover got rocked by Bradley. No, I wouldn't say rocked, but he got hit and stunned and went down. And then, you know, Bradley hit him hard again and he went limp, did Nover. And Yves stopped it. Now, the crowd booed because Nover back up and looked like he was ready to fight, but when you're from Yves Levine's point of view, it definitely looked like Nover was hurt bad, and that's why I would stop. I'm not going to complain. I don't think even the UFC would complain with that stoppage. From that angle, he's protecting the fighter, so I have no problem with that. You know, it's a tough stoppage to make, but I have no problem just, you know, because of what he thought could have happened. So that's just my thoughts there. That was the fight there. Then we went Pat Barry versus Tim Hague. This fight was kind of a disappointment for me to see because, you know, Pat Barry actually had Tim Hague hurt pretty good. He hit him with a nice, you know, head kick and then a nice shot to the face and looked like he was going to capitalize on that, but he didn't, as Hague came back and, you know, finished him with some, you know, nice combinations, and that was the fight. So disappointment there for me to see Pat Barry do something like that. Then we went to the main card. It was Sean Shirk versus Frankie Edgar. This fight was a good fight. It was a really good fight. I thought it was probably the best fight overall on the show. Anyways, one thing I have to say is that I'm not a fan of this new Sean Shirk game plan to an extent. I mean, when you have some Griffin in there, yeah, maybe one or two fights you can have. Try to make it a boxing fight. But, Sean, you have a short arm reach, man. You can't be doing that. Especially, you know, Edgar had a massive reach on you. And you're such a, you know, you're a really strong wrestler. So why didn't, he capitalized on that in the third round. But, you know, by that point, it may have been too late. But, yeah, I mean, I think Edgar on the feet was actually tagging him, you know, getting through more. Like a decisive, you know, 100% victory. But, you know, definitely all three rounds went to Edgar. Edgar looked like he almost, you know, if he had maybe an extra minute, could have potentially finished off Shirk with the guillotine of his own there. So Shirk gets defeated by, you know, 3 judges' scorecards saying 30-27, as did mine. Then we went to the next fight. This was Dan Miller and Chael Sonnen. Miller started off fast. Sonnen shot in for a takedown. Miller went for a guillotine of his own and almost looked like he could have finished him. Looked like the Yves Lavigne could have stopped the fight again because of how red Sonnen's face was getting. He's not going to tap, so maybe you should stop this. But Miller's arms gassed out, and so did he. He looked like he tired throughout the whole fight from that point on. Basically Sonnen would just mount him and just deliver a lot of shots to score. And, just do what he had to do to get the victory. So, Sonnen wins 30-27. A very impressive performance there from Chael Sonnen. Then we went to the next fight. It was big middleweight bout. It was Xavier Fopapukam versus Drew McFedries. And this didn't take long. This was expected to be a fireworks type of fight. And we got them. McFedries just came out, blasted Fopapukam. And that was it. Like, he rocked him really hard, knocked him down. And then he just kept following it up. And things were bad for Fopapukam. I mean, once, he hit him with another big shot that you could just tell his body kind of got really hurt. And Yves Lavigne stopped it. And, Fopapukam tried to, keep holding onto the leg. You could tell he didn't want the fight stopped, but it was for the best it did. And then, when Yves Lavigne tried to, pull Fopapukam away, he's kind of, got the double arm on Lavigne. It's like, yeah, you're not continuing, Fopapukam. A big win for McFedries, so he will continue to be in the UFC for sure. Fopapukam, not too sure how long he'll be here. Maybe one more fight for him, I think. Then it was apparently the grudge match of the biggest grudge match in UFC history. Matt Hughes versus Matt Serra. This was a good fight. I wouldn't say boring. And I would say that Serra got robbed to an extent, but anyways, my thoughts here was, Serra won the first round. Yeah, there was a bit of a clashes in heads, but, Serra was there capitalizing enough for him to win the first. Then, Hughes got the takedown and controlled from the ground to win the round there. And then, the third round, I'd say, Hughes won the majority part of it, most of it. Serra came back and looked, actually reversed a takedown attempt and got a takedown of his own on Hughes. And you look like, did good on the ground there, but it wasn't enough, and Matt Hughes gets the victory, as he mostly should have. Then we went to the main event of the evening. This was Rashad Evans versus Lyoto Machida. Really gotta say, this was definitely a great performance. I mean, not a lot happened in the opening parts of the round, but when Machida wanted to strike, he strikes like a freaking cobra. They play around with you, they do stuff, and then when they strike, it's vicious, as this was. I mean, he threw, a kick and a punch combo that, Evans didn't see coming at all. It hurt him. It definitely dazed Evans. I mean, I don't know, I don't remember if it dropped or anything, but it definitely dazed and took him back. And then the second round came out, and then, Machida just unleashed a flurry with, punches, really rocking Evans. The first guy to knock out Evans, and that was it. I mean, just a vicious fall that made Lyoto Machida a superstar. And then, he cut an incredible, promo after, in broken English, which he needs to keep. He shouldn't be having interpreters. He's got decent enough English to talk, do interviews on his own. And, saying karate is back, and that if you, have a dream, you can do it. So another inspirational story. Leaves the question, who the hell's gonna beat this guy? I really don't know. Don't think Rampage will. Don't know if Griffin could, if he beats Silva. I don't know who's gonna beat this guy. So that's just my thoughts there. Anyways, that's it for me. That's it for the reviews. If you want to send questions, by all means, on anything pro wrestling, MMA, or boxing, you can sure as hell anything from the past you want to know, or anything you want to know my thoughts on, DVDs or anything like that, to my inbox. So anyways, that's it for me. I am out. Peace.